Here's an in-depth behind-the-scenes look at how I built Jewel Osco's Mascot JOJO out of Legos. As with all my projects, I started out with my brainstorm buckets, trying out preliminary designs and getting a feel for the size and shape of the build. Now in a perfect world, I'd have the money and space to get one of those massive sorting systems with hundreds of tiny little drawers for every piece type and color, but for now I keep things organized enough with a few big buckets separated by plates, standard bricks, snot bricks, and then a wild collection of special elements and unique shapes. Anyway, so after establishing an initial sense of things, I moved into Bricklink Studio, Lego's free designer software that is pretty much just Lego CAD. Coming from an engineering background, I was fortunate to have a strong foundation, pun, in 3D modeling and spatial geometry, and then Bricklink Studio supercharged my building abilities and honestly changed how I approach Lego. I'm still not remotely an expert in it, and there's so many features that I'm sure I could improve upon, but it's still been a fantastic resource and a great design tool. So since JoJo's bright blue eye and smiling face are his Hallmark features, I started the build there, working from the head, down to the upper body, to the torso, to the bottom, and then finishing off with the legs and shoes. As I build, I'm generally thinking about the physical construction process and the realities of piece availability and geometry, but that really gets put to the test when I start dividing the model up into steps. Thankfully though, I didn't run into too many issues, so I was successfully able to create my custom instructions, which amounted to just under 1,000 individual steps. Now Bricklink Studio has a fantastic feature where it can take your model and automatically generate a parts list, so I ran through that process to create and place my Bricklink orders. Parts arrived pretty quickly and I immediately got to sorting them. I do this partially to verify that I got what I ordered, but this effort also helps preemptively organize them for the actual construction process. Once that's all sorted, literally, I can finally get to building. Now, as you've probably noticed, I am indeed gluing the model, so here's a little backstory. Professional Lego modelers use MEK, or painter solvent, which chemically bonds the plastic pieces together. I am not using that because 1, I don't trust myself with something that powerful and dangerous, and 2, I don't have the equipment or infrastructure to use it safely, like a respirator or fume extractor. Instead, I use clear Gorilla Glue for my projects. It's simple, much more user-friendly, and still gets the job done. I'm admittedly not wearing gloves, but I rarely get the glue on my hands, and when I do, I immediately wipe it clean and wash my hands completely. For additional safety, I am also venting my very informal workspace with a massive fan that's off camera. And again, this is my personal procedure, and I'm not endorsing it, so if you want to glue your own builds, you got to do that at your own peril. Alright, so that whole glue disclaimer aside, let's talk about the build for JoJo, which went incredibly well. I started with the shoes and legs, since I could build one, and then immediately repeat the process for the matching pair. After that, I worked up from the bottom, moving through his torso towards his chest, which also included the integrated pieces for his arms. You'll notice that as I progress into some of the larger sections, I'm using different colors that don't exactly match the exterior of the build. Those are called reference bricks, a technique that Lego uses both in their commercial sets and in their large display models. The idea is that by incorporating different colors that don't match the exterior of the build, it's easy to follow along in the instructions. These are especially helpful on this model, on what would have otherwise been a sea of black, white, and red all over. As well, these reference bricks form an internal structure, which helps reinforce some of the more complicated geometry of JoJo. From there, I proceeded upwards again, onto his head, which is where the project really came to life, especially thanks to his eye and his beaming smile. Once I put the finishing touches on the build, I could celebrate, take some nice photos of the final product. Of course, at this point, after all this building, I'm getting hungry, so I'll probably go get some groceries from Jewel Osco and think about my next projects. Thanks again for watching.